One costs less than dinner for two, the other costs more than a used car. But here is the interesting part. Both are automatic, both are mechanical, and both have people who defend them as if they were the best movement in the world. So, what is really going on? Because watchmaking is full of marketing, hype, and half-truths. Today we are going to take it all apart, piece by piece, gear by gear. Is the Rolex really that superior, or is the Miyota the industry's best-kept secret? Let's find out. The two contenders. On this table, we have two completely different worlds. On one hand, the Citizen Miyota 9015, a Japanese movement that is pure tool DNA, reliable, slim, efficient, and fitted in millions of watches. It is the reason why today you can have a high-frequency automatic for a ridiculously low price. And on the other side, the Rolex Caliber 3235, manufactured entirely in-house, certified as a superlative chronometer and considered one of the most advanced movements in the world. 70 hours of power reserve, state-of-the-art materials, and an almost mythical, yet also controversial, aura. The question is very simple. What is that price really giving you? Because the difference is massive. Section 1. Automatic System. Let us start with the foundation of everything. How are these movements wound? The Miyota 9015 uses a unidirectional winding system. What does this mean? Very simple. It only winds the mainspring when the rotor turns in one direction. When it turns the other way, the rotor spins completely freely. And if you have ever owned a Miyota, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That very characteristic sound, that quick and loose whir, is not a flaw, it is not poor quality, it is intentional design. A simpler system with fewer critical parts, less friction during operation, and above all, easier to manufacture and maintain over time. It is pure Japanese engineering, efficient, functional, and without unnecessary complications. Now let's look at Rolex. Here, the approach changes completely. The Caliber 3235 uses a bidirectional system, meaning the watch is constantly winding, regardless of which way the rotor turns. The result is immediate, a more continuous wind and a much more refined feel. And there is something that really stands out. The silence. You hear practically nothing. Everything feels smoother, more controlled, more premium. But of course, this comes at a price. The system is more complex, more precise, and also more dependent on perfect execution. This is where the famous reversing wheels of the 3235 come into play, a key component, but also one of the most debated, because if the lubrication is not at its optimal point or degrades over time, the winding efficiency can drop significantly. And this is not theory, it is something many watchmakers have reported. So, from the very first moment, we see the difference in philosophy. Miyota bets on simplicity, robustness, and long-term reliability. Rolex bets on efficiency and refinement, but with greater technical complexity. And this, as we will see, is repeated throughout the movement. Section 2. Power Reserve. This is where the Rolex really starts to pull away. The Miyota 9015 offers 42 hours of power reserve. It is the industry standard. It works. It does the job. It is reliable. You take it off on Friday night and it will probably still be running on Monday morning. Nothing spectacular, but it does not need to be. Now we move on to the Rolex 3235. Here we are talking about 70 hours of power reserve, almost 2 days more. And in real-world use, you really notice this. You can leave the watch all weekend and put it back on Monday without having to adjust it. But this is not magic. It is engineering pushed to the limit. Rolex completely redesigned the barrel, making the walls thinner to fit a longer, more efficient mainspring. And this is key. It is not just longer, it is also optimized to release energy more consistently. Now then, here comes the part that almost no one mentions. More energy means more force within the movement, more load on the gear train, more demand on the escapement, and more tension on all components. And this has implications because the more you push the system, the more you depend on perfect tolerances, precise lubrication, and proper maintenance. So yes, those 70 hours are impressive. They are one of the greatest advances of the 3235, but they are also part of the reason why this movement is more complex and more demanding in the long run. And this is going to be key for what comes next. Section 3. The heart of the watch. This is where the difference stops being subtle and becomes brutal. The Miyota 9015 uses a traditional Swiss escapement, nothing experimental, nothing exotic. 28,800 vibrations per hour, high frequency. The result? A smooth second hand and very stable performance. It is a system that has been proving it works for decades. Official precision, -10 to +30 seconds per day. But in practice, many come much better adjusted, and this is key. It does not stand out for innovation. It stands out for consistency. Now we move on to Rolex. This is where the money really goes. First, the Parachrome hairspring, made with a proprietary niobium and zirconium alloy, much more resistant to magnetism and much more stable against shocks, up to 10 times more resistant than a traditional hairspring. And in the real world, this matters much more than it seems. Now, the second key point. The Chronergy escapement, a direct evolution of the classic Swiss lever escapement, but completely optimized. Rolex reduces mass, changes geometries, and improves energy transmission. The result, according to the brand, is 15% more efficiency. And this is what largely allows for reaching those 70 hours of power reserve. But this is where the serious debate begins, because on paper it is brilliant, but in practice, not everything is perfect. Many independent watchmakers have reported issues over time. Amplitude drops faster than expected, high sensitivity to lubrication, and changes in precision after years of use. The reason? A more efficient system is also a more demanding one. Tighter tolerances, greater dependence on the state of the oils, and a smaller margin for error. So we have the clearest contrast in the entire video. Miyota bets on a classic system, robust and proven for decades. Rolex bets on innovation, maximum efficiency, and greater complexity. On paper, the Chronergy is a masterpiece. In real life, some are starting to question it. Section 4. Finishes. And here the difference is brutal. Miyota 9015. Industrial, functional, no decoration. Everything is made to work. Rolex 3235. Perlage, beveling, finished screws, even in areas you will never see. It does not improve performance, but it does improve the experience. This is no longer engineering. It is industrial art. Conclusion. So, is that huge price difference justified? The answer is, it really depends on what you value. The Miyota 9015 is a masterpiece of practical engineering. It proves that you can get 90% of the performance, a high frequency, hacking seconds, manual winding, and rock-solid reliability for perhaps 2% of the cost of a Rolex. It is a triumph of manufacturing and a symbol of how great mechanical watchmaking has become accessible to more people. It is not trying to be a Rolex. It is trying to be the best movement possible for a reasonable price, and it succeeds brilliantly. The Rolex 3235 is a quest for perfection, and you pay for every small percentage of that advancement. The greater precision, the longer power reserve, the anti-magnetic materials, the intricate finishing. These things offer diminishing returns from a practical standpoint, but in the world of luxury, they are everything. You are paying for decades of research and development, for proprietary patents, and for the constant, and as we have seen, sometimes imperfect, pursuit of innovation by the brand. The truth that no one really talks about is that they are not direct competitors. One is a tool, the other is a trophy. The Miyota 9015 is for the person who wants to enjoy the mechanics of a great watch without emptying their bank account. The Rolex 3235 is for the person who will pay a huge premium for the highest possible level in mass-produced watchmaking and who is willing to accept the complexities that come with it. Ultimately, a watch is a machine that tells a story. The Miyota tells a story of access, value, and incredible Japanese efficiency. The Rolex tells a story of heritage, status, and the relentless Swiss pursuit of mechanical perfection. The choice is yours. So, we have taken them apart. We have seen ball bearings versus the pivot, 42 hours versus 70, the standard escapement versus the patented chronergy, and industrial finishing versus detailed handcrafted art. The engineering is different, the philosophy is different, and the controversies are real. I have laid out the evidence gear by gear. Now I want to hear your verdict. Based on what you have seen, which movement gets your vote and why? Is the cutting-edge engineering and beautiful finish of the Rolex worth it, given its huge price and potential questions about its reliability? Or does the incredible value of the Miyota and its simple, proven design make it the smarter choice? Let me know what you think in the comments below. If this video helped you see watchmaking on another level, hit like. That helps me keep growing and improving. And if you truly love watchmaking, subscribe, because here you won't just see brands and prices, you will understand what is really inside every watch. Plus, some very powerful videos are coming. Comparisons, real analysis, and content that no other channel tells you about. So subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.